If you're looking for a step-by-step tutorial to guide you to the process of setting up your lights for your YouTube stereo, you come to the right place. Hello, welcome back to another Gasville video. Today I'm going to show you the step-by-step process of setting up your key light, your rim lights and your background lights so your videos looks very professional with the gear you already own. You don't need to buy anything else. If you already have your camera, your lens, your lights, you are already in a good place. So let's get started. Right now I'm here recording with my A7 IV, and as you can see, the white balance is a little bit off. My skin looks a little bit green. The overall look of the footage, it's bad. So as I mentioned in a video before, the first thing you need to do is properly expose yourself. That's step number one. And step number two, once you set the power output of your key light, then you can actually adjust the white balance. So right now, I'm going to set something very important in my monitor right here. I'm using the Ninja 5 Plus, but you can use your in-camera zebras to actually expose for your skin tones. So the way to do this is, right now I'm not using S-Log, I'm just simplifying things in camera. So I set my exposure manually with recording 4K 30, so I have my shutter speed at 1/60. I set the lens to f2.8 and I have my ISO to 125. That's the lowest ISO I can go when recording in Pixel Profile 11, which is S-Cinetone. So to continue and expose correctly and then to set the white balance correctly, I'm going to look for a 80-ish highlights in my skin. So I need to set the zebras to 80 so it shows me everything above that so I can actually detect when I'm properly exposed. So right now, let me just bring you right here with me so you can actually see what I'm seeing. Let's just cancel the tracking and let me show you what I'm talking about. So here in the monitor, in the Ninja, you can actually turn on off your zebras and you can set the actual value that you want your zebras to show. That's step number one. Once you have those turned on, you can actually, let me just put the Osmo on the side so you can actually see what happens when you start rising up the exposure, okay? So let me just go grab my controller. So right now I'm about at 40% power output and there's no zebras, there's no visible zebras right now in the monitor. That's fine. You can actually see some, if I remove the lens here, so it actually zooms in a little bit, there you go. So you can see here a little bit in my forehead, there start appearing some zebras right there. So let me just show you real quick. Right there, you see that? That's a zebra. So that means that in that specific part of the image, the exposure it's over 80 IRE. So that's why your zebra. So right now, I'm going to increase the power output of my light by maybe, let's say 50. And as you can see, that part of my forehead is being over that 80 line that I designed. How I know that I'm properly talking about the levels in luminance, so I can turn off my zebras and I can go and turn on my parade. Let me just show you real quickly this histogram. Let me just exit the zoom and there you go, the histogram. So as you can see here, this right here, let me just, I don't know if I can zoom in, but this line, it's 80, okay? This is where the limit, you know, the limit of the skin tone should be. So right here, the brightest part of the image, which is, you guessed it, my forehead, it's at about 80. It's below 80, that's perfect, that's great. So what's next is, since I set the zebras to be at 80, it means that it's going to show me everything above 80, okay? So that means that here in my luminance, everything that it goes above 80 will show. If I increase the power output of the light, you can see I'm now at 60, okay? You can see there's the line over there. And if I go and see the zebras, you can see more parts of my forehead are showing there. So we're not overexposed, right? We're just above the line or the limit of the zebras we set, we are totally safe. One way to know that we're still safe, and in case we overexpose or we move a little bit further away or we move a little bit closer to the light, is you can set your zebras to the next value to know that you're safe and you're not clipping any whites. That means you can go to your zebras at 100%, which is the limit of a cinetone. Hide your parade and your histogram, okay? And you can see that now there's no zebras in the screen. We were at our forehead and you see that there's no zebras appearing here. We are with the zebras on off, you see that? But what happens if I go higher in the power output of the light? I don't know if 100 is gonna be enough to expose my forehead. There you go. There's a little point right there. I know you're going to be able to see it, but let me just move closer to the light so you can actually see. Even though I'm at 100% power output of my SL60W, I'm not overexposing my skins. I am above the level recommended to record skin tones, right? Here you can see the histogram, and we are about reaching that 100 IRE value. That's right, there's no problem. But we want to follow the rule of exposure, so we want to maintain our skins below that 80 line, or just the highlights of our skin to be in the very limit. So we know that that's our forehead. Let's just decrease the power output of the light as we were before, which I think it was 40 when it started to appear the zebras in screen. So you can actually see here. Let me just zoom in a little bit and show you here where the zebras are. You're seeing there the zebras, and you go below up until you start to see that. So you can go below, entirely below that. So you see all my skins are below 80 IRE. That's great. I just want to keep it a little bit above, maybe that, so we have a little bit more room, and some part of my face are resting in the highlights area of the wheels. Okay, so let me just keep the zebras right there and remove the zoom, and now we can move to the next part, which is going to be white balance. Now that I set my exposure right for my key light and me, where I'm gonna be standing, maybe I messed up a little bit, maybe I needed to be a little bit further back, but that's why we overexpose a little bit, well, we increase the gain a little bit, so we can actually still be correctly exposed later. Okay, so let me just move back again to my Osmo Pocket 3 to show you the next step, which is very simple, you already know it. Is basically the white balance process. I set different values so you can actually see the difference in color temperature. So let me just go and show you real quick that. So let's go here and let me just bring you with my Osmo Pocket right here so you can actually see the camera screen, because this is done in camera screen. There's no way to do this with the monitor. But here you can see we were right here at white balanced image with a neutral white, and that's gonna give us this look that now you're seeing. Do you see the difference? That's what happens when you properly expose. And now if I want to use a lot for any other creator or any other one that I bought, it's gonna be very easy to apply it because it parts for a neutral white, so you can actually apply very easily other lots if you want to use that kind of stuff. I just want to normal colors, so I will not do that to this video, but that's a good starting point. So next, you can record like this. It looks great, right? You have your big 120 centimeters softbox blasting in your subject, and you have a nice separation with the background. It's a little bit dimmed, so you have this separation. It looks great. I'm about 2.5 meters away from the background. This is a Savage backdrop, and there's a clean background right there. So The next step will be if you want to reduce the amount of contrast in this side of your face, because since your key light is in this side, there's some shadows created in this side. So there's different ways you can actually do this. If you have a reflector, you can set a reflector just off frame in this side, so you can actually reflect some lights. You can actually see how a reflector works just by my hand. I'm gonna place it close to my cheek right here, and you can see how that light reflects from my hand to this side of my face. So that's basically what a reflector will do. You just set it right here, and that it's how it's been solved. The other thing, if you have access to another light, it doesn't have to be super powerful. I'm gonna use a 7.5 watt strip light RGB that I'm gonna be using as fill light. So it's this one right here. Later I'm gonna show you a little video about this light. It's very powerful, it's very nice. I'm using it with a light stand and with a Ulanzi ball head, so you can actually move it and set it correctly the way you need it. This one right here only have 4 buttons here to turn it on, to change mode, and to adjust value. So right now it's a little bit too bright for my taste. Let me just decrease that a little bit so it's off. There you go, that's turned off. That's 1% power output, and then you can go all the way up. So what we want to do with this one is just to have a feel, as you can see here, how I'm feeling this side of my face, but I don't want it to be too close because that's gonna create very harsh shadows with my glasses. I need these glasses to see actually what I'm doing. So I'm going to increase the power output so I can set it maybe outside frame, maybe just a little bit inside of frame, so it shows a little bit in this side. So maybe just right there, it's enough. And now you can see the difference of having it off and have it on. Let me just turn it away so you can actually see the difference. This is without a fill light, and this is with the fill light. So it's very nice. And again, you don't have to invest in another key light, in another 60 watt lamp, you know. You can use something as simple as this. It was like $50, and now I can have more depth and more separation by creating this extra light in my subject and me, and that's how I use it. If your key light is, let's say, sun color temperature like 5600 Kelvin, I highly recommend using the fill light with a warmer tone so it doesn't create like a more plain look if you use the same temperature. So make sure that it's a light that you can actually change temperature, and it's gonna look super nice. The next step, it will be now you can add your background light. For this, in the other video, I said that you don't use your ceiling lights because it's a bad lighting and all that stuff. You can actually do that. Just make sure that the ceiling light, once you set everything up and you turn that on, it doesn't affect much how your overall video looks. So let me just do that exercise because I think that with the background light it's gonna look very great, but let me just show you what happened after I set all this up and all of a sudden I just turn on my ceiling light. So let's go do that. And as you can see, obviously that means that there's more light. So maybe I'll need to adjust the power output of the light, but I know that since the ceiling light is above me and a little bit behind me, if I turn off the key light, you won't see much of the ceiling light in my face. So that's why this is the case where you can get away with using your ceiling light as your fill light or your background light. And this way you don't have that too much dark scene. So the only consideration here, if you're gonna use your ceiling lights or your ambient lights, just make sure that when you set your keys and all that, that light is still being the very least or the less powerful, and it doesn't affect you. This will be very different if I were sitting in a position where the actual ceiling light is gonna give me these shadows. So it's gonna be very different. It's gonna be more difficult to compensate for that. So that's why I decided to actually use it, because since the position of the ceiling light is above me and behind me, it's actually just creating some shadows in front of me, and that doesn't affect that much. So the next step, the next and final step, once you have set your key, your white balance, your fill light, now would be just to turn on your background light. In this case, I have the Neewer CB60 RGB light. I mentioned this in the past videos. It's a great light. And right now I set it up already in a red HSL tone, you know, that's about 360 degrees, you see it in the scale. That will be it for the process of actually just creating your scene. This is very similar to a video that I already uploaded before, just talking really fast about this process. I just did it a little bit more detailed, a little bit more with the assistance of the Osmo Pocket 3, so you can actually see the entire adjustments and how everything is set. So just real quick, for you to know what are we using, what lights are we using, and what modifiers and stuff, I'm just gonna go from the same order that I set them up. So first I have my key light on a basic light stand. This is a Godox SL60W, the first generation. This one is with me for the past 7 years or so. I have it with a octabox, right? This is a 120 centimeters octabox with 2 diffusion layers. It's not using the honeycomb grid. You can see here in the Osmo that it's not using the honeycomb grid. And it's at about 45% power output. You can see there, maybe yes, maybe not, 45% power output. This is great, this light is great because this one comes with an actual controller. Now, the next is gonna be our Ulanzi video light. This is the BL110, if I'm not mistaken. This one is acting as our first field light. This is the one that we can actually use. This is 7.5 watt output power, works great, great battery. It's about 3000 milliamps hour. This one will last you at this percentage power output about 2 to 3 hours maybe. So for a short recording, maybe an interview or whatever you do, this one will work pretty great. And also it's an Amazon Basics light stand with this little Ulanzi ball head to actually being able to model and adjust the position of it. That's the first field light. The other one right here, I think I detailed pretty much before, but it's a LED panel from Neewer. It's a 220 LEDs. So this one also have a square softbox to diffuse a little bit the light. And again, we're using it with a basic Amazon Basics light stand, okay? And lastly, we're using this one right here, which is the Neewer CV60 RGB light, 30% power output, 100% saturation, 3 degrees in the HSL value. This is how you get the red. If you go, for example, to other degrees, let's just go maybe to 70, that's about green, and you can go on and change values here. The disadvantage of this is once you have your power output very low, it's more difficult for it to actually create the color. So be aware of that. You get more colors once you increase the power output right there. So just a quick mention to that limitation of these lights, because it's just a bunch of RGB LEDs inside and they depend on the intensity to actually show colors. And that will be it for the entire setup. This is the Sony A7 IV with the 28 to 75mm lens. I'm using the Ninja 5 as my monitor. I'm using obviously the Holyland Lark M2 microphones, and that's pretty much it for the setup right here. And obviously the Osmo Pocket 3 on a monopod, and that's pretty much how we recorded this video and how we set this up in the camera right there. So if you have any questions, please feel free to drop it in the section down below. Please subscribe if you consider this content value, if you want to see more tutorials, if you want to see more ways that you can actually set up your scenes, and just I'll be very happy to help you out if you have any other questions. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.